Meanwhile, the female university student who was abducted alongside Migori-based Nation newspaper reporter Barak Odur has been found dead. The body of the 7-month University of Rongo student was dumped in Kodera Forest. The Media Council of Kenya has already written to the Inspector General of Police asking him to open investigations into the abduction incident, linking it to the reporter's journalistic work. All right, just to remind you this morning that the female university student who was abducted alongside a Migori-based Nation newspaper reporter, that is Barak Odur, has been found dead. The body of the 7-month University of Rongo student was found dead in Kodera Forest. The Media Council of Kenya has already written to the Inspector General of Police asking him to open investigations into the abduction incident, linking it to the reporter's journalistic work. All right, so right now I'd like us to cross over to our City Center studio and talk to Victor Bwire concerning this latest incident, the saddest latest incident. And Victor is from the Media Council of Kenya. He is the, Victor Bwire is the programs manager at the Media Council of Kenya. Victor, good morning, and thank you so much for joining us here on KTN News Center. It is yet another day where we wake up to sad news. Journalism once again is on threat.
Thanks and good morning, Brenda. A pleasure that KTN has decided to keep me here since 6. I mean, I was in the newsroom just a few minutes ago. But it's sad what we have just learned since Monday, what has happened to the journalists. Barak, who was abducted, and on behalf of the Media Council, obviously we convey our condolences to the family of the Rongo University student who has passed on. But I'll confine my comments on Barak. It is sad, and already, like you mentioned, we have already written to the Inspector General of Police to quickly open investigations to establish circumstances under which Barak was arrested, because we believe that was hindering his work and obviously threatening his life. Journalists in Kenya are protected, just like elsewhere, by the Constitution, both including the right to life, right to work, and protection. So we are concerned that Barak went through that ordeal. He had his property loss. He almost, from what has happened, he almost, we are sure he could have also lost his life. And this is dangerous in the sense that it's threatening not only the lives of journalists but other Kenyans, but it's also a way of blocking freedom of expression and independent media. We believe that the abduction was related to the work Barak was following. It was in line of his duty, and which is now seemingly becoming a trend in the country, that anytime somebody feels a journalist is doing a story that touches on them, then they can just take law into their hands and deal. And the most worrying a bit, as we ask the Inspector General of Police to open investigation and keep Kenyans and ourselves updated on what might have happened around this abduction, is that as a trend, the level of impunity that is being exercised in this country in matters not just relating to journalists but others is very alarming. Just before we even had Barak's story, which happened on Monday evening, we had about 2 weeks ago Karim and Laban, Nation reporters in Mombasa, who were again assaulted, beaten, and the Inspector General of Police promised to open investigation. We are not so sure where the investigation has. So we are worried as a country that the working environment for journalists is becoming so sad, and we condemn such things that are happening around journalists.
Victor, from your explanation and the latest example that you've given, also what happened in Mombasa and right now, Barak Odur's incident, it paints a clear picture that this won't be the last attack on journalists. So as the Media Council of Kenya, what are you going to do? Because just writing letters and calling for investigations is not just enough to ensure that journalists are safe.
Thanks, Brenda. a lot is happening. We're already having dialogue. At a national level, we have started what is called the Kenya Sector Working Group, which brings on board all people working around journalist issue. Kenya Edsaskil, Kenya Union of Journalists, AMWIC, KCA, and other veteran journalists. And we have brought on board people from the judiciary, from the national security, so that we have a national mechanism of how we can deal with the issues of safety of journalists. I mean, as I tell you, it's a global challenge, and what we can do, the council in itself alone cannot do much in terms of, because security is purely a state function. The people who can provide security for any Kenyan, including journalists, is the state. So media can provide safety, can provide protection, and we have a protection mechanism. Right now we have a hotline, we have a safety fund that we have put aside that helps journalists. We can hire lawyers for journalists. We have written, but the national safety, the national mechanism safety that we have put in place is to involve as a team of people, including the state and security agencies, to be meeting and sharing cases where we are pushing for investigation, arrest and prosecution of perpetrators of crimes against journalists. It's not allowed. So that has been done. In addition to the safety hotline that is there, the Media Council has been running trainings on safety and protection of journalists. We have been engaging with national security to ensure that journalists work in a safe environment. We have brought on board, remember, media owners to ensure that journalists are also given protection, including insurance, including safety standing procedures within media houses that ensure that journalists work in a safe environment.
And Victor, you've talked about police in conducting investigations. Let me just take you back to some months ago. What happened at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport? You saw the attack on journalists. You called for investigations. What happened in Mombasa? You called for investigations. Again, now what's happened to the Nation newspaper reporter? Once again, you've called for investigation. But it begs the question, have you ever received reports from police officers after these investigations are done, just to know who the perpetrators are?
Yes. In a number of cases, I'll not blame police per se. I can tell you, Brenda, because I've been in this field for quite some time, of safety and protection of journalists, that sometimes the frustration comes from the journalists and media houses themselves. In a number of cases, like the one of the cases in Malindi, where journalists were beaten, Arthur Okwemba and Ruben Ogachi, you find that the media houses that are unwilling to go and share some information to allow the progress of the court. In some of those cases, I can tell you, like, for example, the Jomo Kenyatta incident, where the journalists felt they didn't want to pursue the matter. So sometimes, and in quite a number of cases, journalists opt for out-of-court settlement, or they will be called and they agree to sort out that matter. And I can understand, as a former crime reporter, that sometimes journalists don't want to create tension and bridges between themselves and sources, so they opt to mediate or pull out of cases. Yesterday, I was talking to the journalists who were assaulted in Mombasa, for example, and other than, they say they're not interested in pursuing the assault case. So you see, sometimes journalists pull out, or sometimes media houses are not willing, because some of those things involve you going to write a statement, the 5 Ws and the H of a crime. Some of them involve going to court to give witnesses, and many journalists don't want to go through those processes. So sometimes the frustration comes from the journalists themselves. Eldoret, we have a case where journalists went, we are pursuing it in the court of law, but they have gone and had an out-of-court settlement with the perpetrators. So the matter also needs media houses and journalists to take them seriously. We need cases to be completed, but without the cooperation of the journalists themselves, who in many cases are victims, it becomes a challenge to clear. But yes, the investigation and prosecution of cases against journalists has been very frustrating. Actually, in Kenya, we only have, I think, 1 or 2 complete cases where investigations were done and cases were. So these are matters we have raised with the DCI and we have raised with the National Police Commission. Actually, in the latest conversation we've had with the National Police Commission, they have asked us to give them a list of all journalist cases that relate. And this is a discussion we have also had with the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution to furnish them with information around these cases. In fact, There's a meeting coming up in 2 weeks' time where we are meeting as stakeholders again to review the progress of cases of investigation against the perpetration of crimes against journalists. So much, we are doing a lot, but the current statistics are not encouraging.
So, Mr. Bwire, just from your statement, are you trying to say that journalists and media houses have stalled some of these investigations because you're saying that some of them decide to settle these cases out of court and some media houses don't want to go and record the statement? So are you trying to say that media houses and journalists have been attacked as sort of trying to stall investigations?
They frustrate, and I'm not trying to just say, I'm saying from an authority, because I have talked to a number of some of the journalists involved in some of these incidences, and quite a number of them have indicated they are unwilling to continue with the cases. I've given you example of cases where when media houses are required to send representation or go and give more information on some of these cases, they are unwilling. So some of the frustrations around investigation of journalists' cases involve journalists themselves and the media houses. But I'm also saying, like I said, even where there are no frustration or hindrance, the progress by the investigating arms of government have not been encouraging. But in a number of cases, again, a number of journalists, when they get involved in some of these things, they never even go to police and report and get OB numbers, basic things that would then enable an investigation and something to go on. So we need also, as journalists and media houses, to pursue our rights. I mean, the matter to think that once you have been assaulted or beaten as a journalist in a line of work and you just sit and say police will follow it up, we need to actively pursue and follow up cases. And in a number of cases where the Media Council have been involved in pushing and pursuing, you get that some of the frustrations come from the journalists themselves.
All right, Mr. Bwire, lastly, are you planning to train journalists on how to protect themselves during such incidences, especially when they're on work handling stories that are so sensitive?
Yes, that one, Brenda, we are planning. We have already developed a safety manual for journalists, a safety and protection manual for journalists. We know we did it before, but quite a number. But the current wave of attacks against journalists, especially with the stories around investigations, corruption and what, have necessitated. And we have planned to start trainings immediately this month, countrywide, on safety and protection of journalists, because the number of cases so far, I was reading a report which indicates 45 journalists have been assaulted. A report by Media Council, by Article 19 and other partners have indicated that nearly 45 journalists have been harassed or beaten in line of work, which then calls that we must, in addition to calling for police investigation, we need also to empower journalists at their own individual level on matters including developing what is called an individual safety plan, risk analysis, and general safety protection. So that, yes, we are planning. We will also be doing online modules on safety and protection of journalists, so that those who cannot attend physical classes can quickly gain and access material from our website and the related that they can read to enhance their own safety and protection.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Victor Bwire from the Media Council of Kenya. He's the programs manager, rather, just to, trying to explain to us the latest information and what the council has done when it comes to that case where a Nation journalist was abducted and, of course, ran away from the abductors, and which left Rongo University student dead. The student Sharon is believed to have the female university student who was abducted alongside a Migori-based Nation newspaper reporter, that is Barako Dwor, has been found dead. Now, the body of the 7-month University of Rongo student was found dumped in Kodera Forest. The Media Council of Kenya has already written to the Inspector General of Police asking him to open investigations into the abduction incident, linking it to the reporter's journalistic work. This is a developing story, and we shall continue giving you the latest update as and when we get them. Just to remind you that the female university student who was abducted alongside a Migori-based Nation newspaper reporter Barak Odwor has been found dead. The body of the 7-month University of Rongo student was found dumped in Kodera Forest. The Media Council of Kenya has already written to the Inspector General of Police asking him to open investigations into the abduction incident, linking it to the reporter's journalistic work.